We're going to talk about making your own face masks. And you might say, why is someone obsessed with food, that is obsessed with food, wants to talk about what you put on your skin? Well, I don't know if many of you know, but I lost my grandmother to breast cancer when I was younger, and she was this beautiful spirit. I mean, visually beautiful, intellectually beautiful, just the kindest, sweetest person to me. She was also very, what we would call now, very bougie, very fancy. You know, she would, when she had breast cancer, she had a mastectomy, and she got these beautiful wigs. I remember as a kid just, you know, going into her closet and just being so in awe of everything, her hair, her skin. When she lost her hair, she had these beautiful wigs. And when I started getting into the natural health world, one thing that was really shocking to me was all the carcinogens that we find in our cosmetics, in our moisturizers, our makeups. It was really, really heart-wrenching for me, because I always wondered, you know, if maybe she had a different lifestyle from a food perspective, if she had a different lifestyle from what she had exposed her body to. I mean, she wore perfumes and lotions and glimmer and glitter, and if maybe that didn't have a contributing factor. So really studying toxins became kind of a passion for me, and especially things that were carcinogens, and also things that we call obesogens, or things that are labeled and known to create fat proliferation in the body. And so when I started looking at that, three things were huge. One was cosmetic material that individuals were exposed to, cosmetics, cleaning materials that people are exposed to, and packaged foods. So my rule of thumb when we're talking about this beautiful organ that we are showing outwardly to humans every day, our skin, when we talk about this organ, this major organ of detox, I want to talk about what we expose it to. And my rule of thumb is, if you can't eat it, if you're not willing to, you know, at least taste it, then you shouldn't be putting it on your face. So the other thing is, remember, pleasure stimulates the metabolism. Remember, stress reduction stimulates the metabolism. And so I will post, I pulled last night, I have these notebooks when I travel with clients, and I've been doing this for, we were counting 26 years, over 26 years now. When I travel with clients, one of the things that I do is I totally gut all of their cabinets. I go after their cleaning products, under their sink, in their pantries, and I always go into their bathrooms and look at what they're putting on their faces. The other side of that is that I have many clients that are in front of the camera and want to look as healthy and vibrant and as youthful as they feel outside. So a lot of the formulas and recipes that I put together for natural face masks also has to be extremely effective. So I'll post I'll post a bunch of them, but I'll post 3 of my tried and true, have used this for a long time, remedies. One of them, which we're gonna do together today, or I'm gonna show you and then we'll post it, is our basic detox mask. It's really important to detox the skin, especially the face and the neck, or your décolletage, because we have so much exposure here. We don't usually cover up all the time. We have exposure to smog and pollutants. Definitely right now, a lot of fires. We have exposure to sun, maybe sunscreens that are toxic. Some of them are very toxic, some of them are amazing. And so this is a very important area of detox. The other area of detox that we talk a lot about is the feet, and that's because there are control measurement points, a lot of acupuncture points, acupressure points on the feet that, when stimulated in a good way, can help stimulate the whole body. So I want to go over, and then again I'll post them, but I'm going to talk about the ingredients in all of them. I've got a really good acne mask. You can make it, you can put it, I put some things in these containers, snap them, stick them in the freezer or in the fridge if it's just for a couple days. Pull some out, put them on spots. You can put them directly all over the face. I've got our basic detox mask, which we're gonna do right now. And then, my other mask, which is for rough, discolored, or scarred skin. So as many of you know, I had very systemic eczema when my autoimmune disorder was totally out of control. I would get eczema, it would go all in my eyelids. I would get the butterfly, they were sure I had lupus, just sure of it. The really significant butterfly patches. I'll have to find some old pictures. And I had a lot of scarring on my lips and a lot of scarring on the back of my hands and on my knees and my elbows from being a kid and scratching myself to the point of bleeding. So that mask was really fun for me. I used to use it actually really diligently, but now my skin is all better. So I don't seem to use that one, but this is one that I go to a lot. We're gonna start with our basic detox mask, and I'm gonna talk about the nutrients associated with these that can help the body and why we use them. So let's get started. So the first thing that I add in my detox mask is Bentonite Clay. I know that some people, again, use this Bentonite Clay. This is a cool brand. There are a lot of really good natural health brands. You all will see that the video is backwards, but we're just gonna leave it that way because when I redo it, I'm gonna flip it. I learned that the other day. Bentonite Clay is a really good detoxifier. It has a binding agent. Some people take this orally when they're doing chelation or they're working on heavy metal toxicity. But Bentonite Clay, and we use 5 tablespoons of that, is phenomenal for a face mask. So in the recipe, you guys will see I use different teas and different essential oils also. You can mix it up, you can mix and match. We'll talk a little bit about that, and I'll talk about the different ingredients. The second ingredient is gonna be coconut flour. Let's say 3. I'm gonna make a big batch of this because I have actually not made this in a while. 4, 5. So the recipe that I'm gonna post makes for several treatments. As long as you use hot soapy water and clean your brush, you can kind of dip back into the same container, or you can take a small bowl, scoop some out with a little spatula, and use that for your daily face mask. I hope I didn't lose count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I get asked a lot, how long should I leave a face mask on? Long enough to throw yourself in a pot of fast metabolism chili, okay? This is a great thing to do while you're prepping in the kitchen. People will know you have gone totally FMD when you have a face mask on and you're making the oatmeal carrot cake bars. Those were amazing, we made those together. You're then gonna use coconut flour. Now, coconut flour is all of these things you want to maybe skin test first, put a little water in it, put it on your skin, sensitive areas in the crook of the elbow, right on the wrist, make sure you don't have any allergies or you're allergic to it. Coconut flour is really good to hold in the moisture and hold the mask together. So you're going to use 2 tablespoons of coconut flour, so 5 of the Bentonite Clay, 2 of the coconut flour, and then we use oat or oat flour. Again, oat has a lot of the B vitamins in it, a lot of antioxidant properties too. Oatmeal baths are very soothing, for angry or agitated skin. The oat, sometimes I'll do oat packs under my eyes. If I'm like, you'll see a couple tricks. So I want you to look at my eyes now and then look at my eyes when I'm done. It's gonna be beautiful. But the oats are really good to take out that redness or the agitation in the skin. I also feel like it really helps buffer the pH when we add the acidity of the tea here in a minute, and also some of the activation in the essential oils. The oat seems to be a really nice buffering agent. So we're gonna use a tablespoon of oat flour and then a tablespoon of almond meal. Now, almond meal has a lot of those phenomenal essential fatty acids, the omega-3s and 6s and 9s. So there's our oat flour, and I'm just gonna grab our almond meal or almond flour. And I have tried to do it like with just almond flour or just oat flour or just coconut flour, and it's great, it works, it's wonderful. I'm always looking for the kind of consistency, the feel, and when I'm done, the hydration and also the soothing of the skin. So a lot of times we use this mask before my client goes into maybe hair and makeup, and we'll do this mask. I have a little trick. We apply, I always say apply a really good moisture afterwards. We apply an essential fatty acid, the metabolism fatty acids, these, and I'll show you how we apply these onto the skin makeup, and it's phenomenal prep. So you're gonna use I use a total of 10 drops of essential oils. Again, I want you to make sure that you're not skin sensitive to this. It's really good to try some of it first, here and in the crux of the arm, maybe even around, I put essential oils in the lymph nodes, in the lymph area all the time, but just to make sure that you're not sensitive to those. I have a favorite. I use Young Living oils. Sorry guys, I know there's a lot of really good ones. I even grabbed some from Whole Foods the other day. But for the detox mask, I like to use rosemary and lavender. Again, with Young Living, I love Gentle Baby, I love Valor, I love, I pulled some of, Gratitude. Oh my gosh, that one smells so good. If you are wanting to evoke something, so true stories, sometimes, like I said, I do this with my clients, or have my clients do this, or their hair and makeup artists will do this prior to an event, and we'll pick the essential oil that helps them be in the place that they need to be in when they're getting ready to go on stage. The other one is Thieves is phenomenal right now if you're worried about cold or flu season, or any other kind of little boogies out there that might be stressing the immune system. When I'm working on detox, I love the rosemary and I love lavender. Lavender has a tendency to mellow out the rosemary a little bit. Rosemary, those of you that are essential oil nerds like myself, rosemary has a lot of really crazy studies about the ability to lengthen telomeres, or promote healthy DNA replication. So think about like anti-aging properties too. And again, lavender has a tendency to really mellow this out. So the liquid in here, I use a tea, and my basic 3, 4, 5. So I use a total of 10 essential oil drops in this whole big concoction. You can go big or go home. You can do a little bit more. You can start a little more gentle on your body. If you're working on things, this is a great one in phase 2. If you're really working on historical fat loss, rosemary is phenomenal for that, or any of the blends that have rosemary in it. So you can kind of play with that a little bit. The next thing that I'm gonna add in is I have been steeping, really strong steeping, about 3/4 cup of tea. I wanted to show you, this is one of my favorite mugs. It says, "Someone once told me I was delusional. I almost fell off my unicorn." Isn't that cute? So one of the reasons why I love this is because it comes with its own little spoon. Remember when you're steeping tea to get every last little bit of this herb out? I have some clients that, kind of go hardcore on me with some of my face masks. They will open their tea bags, use the loose leaf tea, and mix everything into the face mask. My warning again is just make sure you're not reactive to it. So in this one, I use a milk thistle tea. Milk thistle tea, milk thistle definitely will promote detox. If you can't find milk thistle tea, you can always grab like an herbal tincture of milk thistle and add it into maybe a chamomile tea. I'll show you a little trick. I'll do it right before we apply. But chamomile tea is very soothing, so I use chamomile tea around my eyes a lot. So if you make chamomile tea in the morning, or in some of ours you'll see we use like a Padiarco tea, or maybe you drink a licorice tea, you can always save your tea bags. And what I do is I'll throw my tea bags in with a hot water again into a little Tupperware with these, and I have to use organic cotton because my skin again is more sensitive, but I'll use it in these little cotton pads, and I'll put these in the fridge. They're nice and cool, and anytime I have a minute to rest or lay down, I just put those right on my eyes. So especially with, not that big of putting peppermint tea over my eyes, although I had someone talk me into spearmint tea one time. It was awesome, it wasn't that bad, but I was like, my eyes are gonna get reactive and I'm gonna have a reaction, and so I was a little bit nervous about it, where chamomile makes me happy. Some people even use a traditional green tea with caffeine to help shrink, like my morning, some puffy eyes. So anyway, I've been steeping this tea for a long time. You'll see in some of the recipes, I will use like a matcha. I'm a big, that's very good topically. And we just are going to, this here is a milk thistle, and we're just gonna blend it in. Let's see if you guys can see this. There you go. and I'm just gonna make this nice paste. Bentonite clay does have a tendency to absorb a lot of moisture, and so if it feels like it's a little too thick for you, you can add more tea. If it feels like it's a little thin, bentonite clay, will absorb it, or you can just cut your, add a quarter of a teaspoon more of the almond flour and the oat flour and the coconut flour for this one. So sometimes with masks, I'll add an oil. We'll talk a little bit about the different oils. Let me get this on my face so we can have a real serious talk, and you'll take me really serious with my face mask on. I will sometimes apply oils during my face mask, and I'll show you my favorite thing to do. And if you're using a carrier oil like hemp oil or jojoba oil, which are probably the only two that I'll use as a carrier oil on my face. I do use almond sesame oil on my body, but as a carrier oil for my face, I'll only use hemp oil on my décolletage. So like this is hemp seed oil. It has a really good amino acid ratio for tightening the skin. However, I find, and I've worked with crazy scientist dermatologists, that we have had a lot of discussions about this, but I find that this can clog the pores, especially around the nose. Like I'm really prone to blackheads and stuff. So I will use a jojoba oil if I'm gonna use a carrier for a face mask for this part of my face. I will use a jojoba oil because it doesn't block the pores. So if you're really big into essential oils and you wanna use something that's a carrier, use one of those. We use the metabolism fatty acids as a carrier oil, and I'll show you how I apply those during this. I always put them on my lips and around my eyes like a little super, super fancy eye cream. Anyway, my mask is getting amazing. It's looking like I just want to dive right in there and put my whole body in there. I'm going to put just a teeny bit more tea, and then we will apply it to my face. So, oops, here we go. So things to think about when you're looking at teas, maybe to add into your mask. There is a medicinal aspect when you consume the tea, like Cascara Sagrada or Smooth Move tea, right? It has a laxative, purgative, laxative piece to it. When you put it on topically, it's a little more of an astringent. So sometimes I will have clients that if we think about the duct or the pores being clogged or congested or constipated, if you will, sometimes if I have a person that has really more like a cystic acne, or they have really deep lymphatic stagnation, sometimes we'll just literally steep a tea bag of Smooth Move tea and apply it right over the area that's stagnant, and it can be a really good drawing agent. A little bit of this bentonite clay. So again, you can kind of play with the teas in this. I'm using a milk thistle, very soothing, very calming. Actually, I forgot this morning because I was thinking about when I looked at my skin this morning and I was going into phase 2 today from a food perspective. I actually put some Mighty Leaf organic matcha green tea in there. I was hoping to kind of tighten things up a little bit. So I just finished doing some of the 10-day cleanse and went right into phase 1, and actually, all right, true tales of what happens in Haylie's life. I had to rent a car, and the car had some, I always call, I know this sounds picky, but I always call and say, please, please, please do not deodorize or put air fresheners in the car. And they didn't. However, whomever was driving the car before apparently liked to smoke and wear a lot of perfume. So when I woke up this morning, because I had to drive the car yesterday, I just really felt like I had a lot, like right now my skin, I just can't, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna dive into this. I can't wait to get this on. So it feels a little bit thick for me. I steeped my tea a very long time. I'm gonna run over to my instant hot water thing over here and add a little bit of hot water. So couple tricks. Some people like to put masks on cold. Some people like to put masks on warm. Whenever I'm doing a detox mask, maybe that was a little too much, I like to apply it warm, and so I just added a little bit of warm water. If you're pulling this out and you've refrigerated it or frozen it, there we go. That's the consistency that I like. I like to be able to paint it on. You can't go wrong. You can't mess up. Just like I tell you guys in the kitchen, this is my laboratory. It's all about experimenting, having fun, creating joy, creating community together, and thinking about ways that you can stimulate the metabolism or things that could be potentially slowing the metabolism that are in your everyday life, because remember, the metabolism affects every aspect of your life. So my amazing mask is ready to apply. So one thing that I do is, and my team actually caught me doing this and said, I can't believe you don't tell everybody that you do that all the time. So I'm sharing it with you because they always, and I didn't mean to not share it with you, but I use our metabolism fatty acids and I snip the end. Actually, if you weren't watching, I'd probably just bite off the end. Boop. And I'm gonna put a little bit of that. Look how my lips. I like my lips to look and stay hydrated. I'm probably from being a kid and an adult with severe eczema, I have a tendency to get a little bit self-conscious of my skin, and then I put it right here around my eyes. I don't usually put my mask on my eyes. I will use tea bags for that, and of course, I use the oils. When the kids were little, we used to do a lot of face masks, and some of it was to get me just the time to be able to do a face mask. If you have kids or grandkids, this is a really fun thing and a really healthy thing to teach your kids about what they're putting on their face. Why do I use the fatty acids? Because they are super, super pure, clean, have a strong antioxidant effect, so it's gonna help with skin damage. And there you go. So this is a great thing to do with your partner, with your husband, with your spouse. You can use 2 different kinds of brushes. I'm such a baby. Again, I had skin issues. So some people, like my daughter, loves these really like big, fat, chunky brushes, and she gets a whole bunch on there, and she just like, I'll do this on my décolletage because I'm not as sensitive about that. Sorry, guys. Well, hello. I also like to use a zipper, little tracksuit thing, because I can take it off, throw it in the washer. I'm not trying to pull it over my head if I want to leave my mask on for a long time. So she'll use like a really heavy brush. You can just apply it right there. So in one of the masks, you'll see I use an olive oil. I use a garlic infused olive oil. That one works really well. Again, more on the décolletage. I'm a little more sensitive. I'll use the fatty acids or a jojoba oil when I'm going here. So I always go here first because this is where my pores get the most clogged. I wish I had a mirror. I know there's one up in my bedroom. I'm doing my best to look at this camera, and you will see I actually was just getting ready to double dip, but I think I'm not gonna do that. I'm actually gonna take some out of here and put it in an empty tray because this smells so good and I want to have more for this week. While we're doing 7 days of the fast metabolism diet, please share tips and things that you're doing that help make it easier, that help encourage and promote detoxification. Oh, thank you. I got a mirror coming my way. I just don't want to accidentally put this right in my eyeball. Okay, you can watch me finish up here really quick. So I always hit around my nose first because I want that to be on there as long as possible because that's where my skin gets really congested. And then here under my chin, oh my God, this feels so good. It smells really good. So I'm gonna just apply this really quick. You guys don't have to watch me for the whole thing, but I do not want to waste this opportunity to give myself an amazing face mask. So things to think about with a face mask. They can promote detoxification. They can also be really inflammation reducing. So remember, inflammation is a big inhibitor in insulin's effectiveness, in the body's ability to use insulin effectively so that you can be the queen or king of lipolysis, meaning you can break down fat for fuel. Inflammation will inhibit insulin, which is the hormone that helps take fat up into the cell to be broken down by the mitochondria for energy. Insulin sensitivity, when the body does not become sensitive to insulin, you will not do that pathway very efficiently. And it's really frustrating because no matter how well you eat, it's very difficult to lose weight. Or if you add complex carbohydrates, which we all need and love, and fats, you'll have a hard time losing weight. So anything that you can do to reduce inflammation is huge, huge, huge. I'm gonna talk about a couple additional ingredients. Hold on, I just don't wanna miss that spot. There we go. Oh, this feels so good. Please, you guys, when you make your masks, and I'm gonna post, I've got 3 recipes that I'm an ish girl. You guys know that when I cook, throw a little bit of this in, throw a little bit of that in. I do that too with my face masks. So last night I made all 3, just remade all 3 to make sure that I had all my portions right. Oh, this smells so good. That I had all my portions right and that I could do everything to get you guys, you know, really accurate recipes, because I will have a tendency to be like a mad scientist and add a little more of this and a little more of that. So this is feeling amazing. Again, people ask how long. Keep it on as long as you can. You're wanting to run over, grab your crock pot, your Instapot, and your stock pot, and throw in 3 meals, chop vegetables for all of them, and make meals for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of the cleanse. And so I guess basically what I'm saying, somewhere between 5 to 15 minutes. If you can go a good 5 minutes, that's awesome. Remember, don't put anything on your face that you're not willing to eat. So I want to talk about, when we talked about inflammation, little things, and you guys can pick these up. They're so cheap. When you have your next Zoom meeting and you can't maybe turn your camera on, it's a great time to do a jade roll under your eyes, especially if you've just put those fatty acids on and you want to press those into the skin. This is a really good thing to do. This takes the swelling down. I will drink metabolism energy like crazy when I'm on the road because it has that antihistamine aspect to it, and it makes my eyes really white and bright and shiny, and it takes the swelling down when I'm staying in like hotels and I'm exposed to all of the unfortunate chemicals that we're exposed to on the airlines and in the hotel rooms and in the studio. Really, sometimes it's kind of crazy. I do not know, between dryer sheets and Febreze, I do not know how people breathe. But anyway, you guys, remember, anytime you can reduce inflammation. So maybe right now, maybe I don't, but maybe I have my feet in some pot Arco tea. Maybe I have an Epsom salt scrub going on down there. Maybe I'm doing some constitutional hydrotherapy and I'm taking my feet and I'm going hot bath, cold bath, hot bath, cold bath. Remember, anything that you can do to break these dysfunctional cycles in the body, don't think of them as maybe self-indulging. Think of them as healing the metabolic pathways in the body. I'm so love that you guys can take me scientifically serious looking like this. That's why I love you so much. Okay, I'm gonna just talk about a couple little things that I use, that I used a lot if you have discolored skin. So some women get what they call the pregnancy mask. Some men get extra dark circles under their eyes. That one is a really good one, and I'll post that one. I do use an egg in that one if you are vegan or are concerned or have an egg allergy and don't want to use that topically. I'll put an alternative on that. I use an orange in there, and I use something, I don't know if you guys ever used Manuka Honey. So Manuka Honey, I used it a lot with the kids with colds and flus and things like that. But Manuka Honey topically can be really good for reducing the thick feeling of scarring and scar tissue, or a kind of a leathery feeling. And I've used I've been a Manuka Honey, it's been in my pantry again since before the kids were born. And an interesting thing just happened. We had one of our colts go through a fence and just shred his leg. And fortunately, we live next to one of the best vet hospitals in the world at our ranch in Colorado. And so we had to rush him into the hospital in Littleton. And it was shredded so bad they couldn't stitch it. I think we're in week 6 of bandaging. And I'm very, as you know, natural and holistic minded. So I'm very conservative even when it comes to my animals about putting things that are going to be additionally stressful on their bodies. And I was so stoked because the top surgeon there said, well, when we bandage him, you want to just apply. I said, oh my gosh, here we go. You know, wet steroids, antibiotics, what's going to happen here? She says, I want you to apply Manuka Honey we're going to change your bandage every other day and you're going to apply Manuka Honey. And I mean, this was, you know, barbed wire. He was where he shouldn't have been, you know, punctured the joint. It was a big, nasty thing. And Manuka Honey was what they recommended. So it's just like a little bit of validation in going big or going home, meaning, you know, natural therapies can be powerful and impactful and have a place in one of the top surgery centers in the world. Yes, it does. Okay, guys, couple little tips to think about. I have a hot washcloth in a hot bowl of water, but something that I want you guys to be aware of, especially when we're talking about heat and the skin, is I want you to take your washcloths in a probably glass bowl, and I want you to really rinse it and see if you have any detergent residue. Really important that you're rinsing things that are going to be applied to your skin, and that means your bath towels, and that definitely means if you're using a wet washcloth for something. So I sometimes will use wipes. You guys are gonna laugh. I like the when we were traveling a lot, my daughter rodeos, we did 3,100 miles in 5 days across the Dakotas of Nebraska and Wyoming. And I felt like I lived on these because it was really windy and dusty, but these are great for just a face wipe. They're actually in the baby department. They're for your tushy. Not for your tushy, but they're for a baby's tushy, but it also can help your skin be baby butt soft. So you want to wipe with a warm washcloth and then apply moisturizer. So as I have a couple other ingredients over here, I have a arrowroot mask, the one that I use with Manuka Honey. That's the one that I use the garlic infused olive oil. You can infuse your own oils with garlic. There's a recipe that we can post for that. There was one other that I was going to tell you. I mentioned the egg. Oh, the one that is for discoloration. I learned, again, this is one that I used for a long time. I use actually a powdered goat's milk. There are some peptides in goat's milk and that protein that really helps to repair the skin at a rapid rate. So people dig in my pantry and this is starting to get really firm. It feels so good. People dig in my pantry and they'll find all kinds of interesting things, and they'll say, oh, you know, do you use goat milk in your smoothies, goat milk powder? And I said, no, I don't. However, it is phenomenal when you're doing skin and tissue repair. So as many of you know, I had 7 surgeries from this side over from a car accident, and I had several surgeries on my shoulder. So I used a combination of wheat germ oil. Actually, I used this probably kind of when I started coming up with this mask was when I had all the surgeries and all the scars associated with that. But I used wheat germ oil and powdered goat milk for scars all the time, little trick. This one, our oat milk and orange mask for rough, discolored, and scarred skin. I've used it on a lot of my clients that have stretch marks. Even if the stretch marks are from many, many beautiful moons ago, you will notice with individuals that have stretch marks, they will change in discoloration. They will change in color. They will sometimes feel purpley, really red, really agitated. Other times they will seem really, subtle and really light. And a lot of that is the vasodilation and the dignity of the skin around where that skin was torn or disrupted during, collagen elastin was disrupted during some period of strain or growth where our body didn't have the right nutrients. So this is a really good one. If you have an area that has stretch marks, you can, it's a really safe one to put like on the breast, on the belly, anywhere in the body. Again, having had a history of really severe eczema kind of from head to toe, I became a skin kind of junkie in what you can do. And that was actually when I first started formulating the fatty acids, was to help prevent stretch marks for pregnancy. It was a successful venture and have been in love with those ever since. I'm just gonna add, just gonna wipe this off. Can you guys see this? If you can see the consistency, it's amazing. It feels amazing. And I'm gonna just show you how easy it is. Just take this off. Oh, this feels so good. Okay, so when you guys are thinking about your metabolism and you're thinking about doing, we're talking about the superheroes of the metabolism, and we talk about the thyroid, and we talk about the adrenals, and we talk about the pituitary, the conductor. Let me show you how to get this off enough so you guys can take me even more serious, right? Give me one baby second. When we're talking about all of the superheroes of the metabolism, please keep in mind that the skin is really our first line of defense for exposure for things that can slow the metabolism. Please keep in mind that what you eat is not only what you put in your mouth, but also what's absorbed through the bloodstream, through the skin, into the bloodstream. And I had a really funny, we were in a meeting with a bunch of docs, and we actually had this whole, we have these kind of cool meetings where I'll get brought in, and I would say they're think tanks, but usually we're kind of going over what would be good to do for a particular client, or sometimes they're associated, like this last one was associated with a grant and some funding for some research. And they were like, oh, they were actually talking about some claims that essential oils people were making. And they were talking about nanomolecules and how things can't truly pass through the skin. And one of the docs there was really into transdermal hormone replacement therapies. And I just was kind of waiting for her to say something like, my whole practice is based on things permeating through the skin in hormone replacement therapy. And she didn't really kick in right away until I jumped in and said, a lot of people that do hormone replacement therapy, that's how they use, and they use usually like a carrier oil, or in the horse world we use a lot of DMSO or things like that. And we started this whole huge discussion on what the skin can and can't absorb. And so I don't like to just make wild claims. I like to do a lot of pulling studies together and having a lot of kind of like backing when I'm gonna go up and say something. So of course they always know when we get back from these kinds of meetings, they're gonna be in for a lot of emails from me that have a lot of studies that back them. But I was actually shocked when they talked about how much, when I started researching how large of particles can pass through the skin, and how much what we absorb, what we expose our skin to, can really affect our health. So I'm just gonna finish up with a little fatty acid. I'm gonna press this into my skin and go about my day. So we will post these recipes. I feel lovely and beautiful and amazing and so privileged to get to spend this time with you guys. I hope you're enjoying this challenge. The next challenge, oh, it's really good. The next challenge is already posted. Make sure that you're signed up. We're looking at new challenges, new things that we can do. But I wanted to make sure that we look at you from a holistic perspective, and you look at your world and your life from a holistic perspective. The last thing that I want you to do is to be investing time, energy, and money on healthy foods, not recognizing or realizing the nutrients within those foods, and or potentially exposing yourself to things that could be inhibiting you from creating a healthy gut flora, inhibiting you from detoxing fat for fuel efficiently, or inhibiting you from realizing all of your metabolic dreams. So with that in mind, I wish you a beautiful day. I hope you guys have an amazing day. I will post these recipes. I'm gonna post my top 3 ones that I love, because I, again, remade them just to make sure I didn't have anything wonky, because sometimes I have to do this on the fly and on the road and do a lot of substituting, because I can find health food stores in certain cities and some not in others. So love you guys. Make it an amazing day. Please post anything that you're either interested in me talking about. I'm just trying to expose you more and more to ways that you can support your health, have a beautiful life, and know that you're cherished in this incredible community. Bye, guys.